The biggest bottleneck in your computer, aside from your internet connection, am I right, is probably its storage, as disk drives usually function and communicate more slowly than anything else inside a computer. So it should come as no surprise then that many people point out that adding an SSD is often the single best upgrade for making your machine feel faster. Because unlike a mechanical hard drive, an SSD's complete lack of moving parts means it can both access and write data much more quickly. But even though nearly any widely available consumer-grade SSD will be a major upgrade over a spinning HDD, there can be a lot of noticeable variation in how different models perform. And unlike trying to research what graphics card to buy, where it isn't really hard to look at how many FPSs a card will give you in popular games that you play, both advertised performance numbers and benchmark results for SSDs can be a little bit hard to decipher. So how the heck are you supposed to know what's important? Well, we covered different interfaces and form factors in previous videos, boop boop, but today we're going to be talking about how to understand specs and benchmarks. It's probably no surprise that the numbers that SSD manufacturers trumpet the most often don't have a ton of relevance to what real-world performance is going to be like. Usually, sequential read and write performance, that's how fast an SSD can read or write a contiguous large file all in one place on the drive, is listed right at the top of the spec sheet, with higher-end drives commonly showing transfer rates above 500 megabytes per second. But while those numbers do matter if you're transferring lots of data at once, such as if you're a video production company and you transfer a lot of video files around, what often matters more for everyday use is 4K performance. This is the measure of how quickly an SSD can deal with much smaller chunks of data stored in random locations all over the drive, which is important because most things that the average user does on a daily basis, whether it's web browsing or running a background antivirus scan or saving a Word document, require accessing small pieces of data all over the place rather than large contiguous chunks of data. Performance can also be indicated in IOPS instead of megabytes per second. This stands for inputs and outputs per second and is a measure of how quickly a drive can deal with read or write requests. Again, unless you're using your SSD mostly for playing the copy-paste game, it's a good idea to check and compare IOPS as it relates to 4K performance. Another thing to watch out for if you're looking at benchmark results is whether the test was done with compressible or incompressible data. Typically, the compressible result is more important, depending on workload, since many SSDs actually do compress numerous types of commonly used data, from documents to operating system files, in order to keep the SSD from wearing out too quickly and to make it perform better. Incompressible data, though, does occur in the real world, stuff like movies and music, which have been compressed already into formats like MP4 or MP3. So if most of what you're doing is working with uncompressible data, then the uncompressed benchmarks will give you a better idea of what to expect, and vice versa. But aside from pure speed, it's also a good idea to do a little bit of research to find out what kind of longevity to expect from an SSD. Unlike a hard drive, which has magnetic platters that can be written to indefinitely, need a big asterisk here, as long as the moving parts don't wear out, that's what that'll say, the memory cells in SSDs can only be written to so many times. Although most modern SSDs can handle at least several hundred terabytes of writes before kicking the proverbial bucket, with higher-end models being able to last a fair bit longer, it can be relevant if you're planning to use your drive for more than a few years, especially as performance will start to degrade over time as the memory cells wear out. A number of websites, including Tech Report, have done independent testing of just how many write cycles popular SSD models can handle, so have a look at those if you want something that will soldier on for a long time. I hope this helps you then in your quest for the perfect SSD, whether you're building a new system or just trying to breathe some life into an old one. Just make sure that you temper your expectations, because an SSD will make the system feel more responsive, but it won't make that old Packard Bell in the attic able to handle Crisis 3. Speaking of a crisis, what if you found yourself at home with no fresh shaving supplies, and the only way to get any shaving supplies was to go out to the store? You went to the store and they had it all behind lock and key, and then when you finally got the razor blades you so desperately needed, they wanted like $20 for them, and you were like, what? No. Dollar Shave Club will take care of that. By joining Dollar Shave Club, you can get razors and other bathroom supplies shipped directly to your door for only a few bucks a month. They've got razors, they've got Dr. Carver's shave butter, they've got their One Wipe Charlie's peppermint scented face wipes for men. You could use them on your face. They're actually butt wipes, but you could use them on your face as long as you don't use them on your butt first. I mean, you still could, but please don't, because the peppermint scent is not gonna compensate. Anyway, they've got post-shave moisturizers, and they've got travel sizes. They've got a variety of razors all the way up to the 6-blade executive, which has, as you might imagine, 6 blades, and it's just high-quality razors and bathroom supplies with no vibrating handles or other nonsense like that. All you gotta do is head over to dollarshaveclub.com/Linus. They ship to the US, Canada, and Australia, and you can start saving your time and saving your money. Speaking of saving time, I'm going to do this outro really fast. If you liked, like. If you disliked, dislike. If you want to see our other channels, boom, right there. If you want to comment with a suggestion for a future fast as possible, that's below. And if you want to subscribe, I'd really appreciate it very much. Thank you.